Welcome to this first Vodcast. My name is Mr. Try and I'm one of a team of teachers that will lead these videos. They are aimed at preparing you with some of the more basic content so that in lesson you can arrive brimming with ideas and questions and be ready to apply them to the more complicated scenarios you'll encounter during the AS course. These are some of the things that we're going to be aiming to cover, so I've broken it down to things that you should already know. As it's the first video, we won't be doing anything too complicated. We'll just be preparing to deepen your understanding of knowledge. So there's respiration, basic structure of the heart, some of the blood vessels, the components of blood, and what we'll be building on when we start the AS course is a detailed structure of the heart and more information about the cardiac cycle, including the sinoatrial node and the atrioventricular node. We'll also be interpreting ECG traces and looking for any abnormalities that can show up in case there's a heart attack or the heart isn't functioning as it should. So all very interesting stuff. Here are some of the core ideas that you should be able to answer at the end of this podcast. You should prepare notes on these questions ready for the lesson. These are some additional questions that link to the topic but are not covered in the video. They are especially pertinent if you're thinking of studying biology beyond A-level, for example in a clinical field. You should try and research some of them after the video and bring some ideas to the lesson. The first step to understanding the importance of the heart to animal systems is to understand more about the building blocks of all living organisms, the cell. You should start imagining the cell as a city with each organelle representing a function of the city. Waste management, construction, they even have their own post office. Of course, the organelles are not as clearly laid out as this. In the course, we do a lot of work with light microscopes. Here is a single-celled amoeba, which has many similarities to the animal cell, even though it's actually a member of the Protoctis family. We share many of the same organelles, which you can see here, although it's almost impossible to differentiate each organelle from one another. You may be able to recognize the nucleus as the yellow body in the center. Back to the model and the city analogy, these organelles are the mitochondria, the site of respiration. This BBC video, Secret Universe, The Hidden Life of the Cell, models the mitochondria and the proteins on its surface. This is the site for cellular respiration. Here, these protein turbines use the reactants of respiration to charge up chemical batteries that go on to power cell function. These golden molecules are the energy that's usually written in brackets in the respiration equation. The cell is hungry for this energy, and as you can see, the entire cell is flooded with these molecules. How does the heart use this energy? Well, it's used to power the contraction of muscle cells. The heart, for all its importance, looks quite insignificant. However, if you think about what cells are, this organ is a complex country of billions of cell cities all working for the same function. With this analogy, there are supply routes which act like motorways and train routes, bringing in the reactants into the cell and also taking away the waste products. On the surface, we see the coronary arteries, which act as the motorways. This image was produced by injecting a dye into an animal heart and X-raying the organ. You can see a patch in the center where the blood vessels have not yet reached, which could be an issue for a patient. The role of blood vessels is to supply these hungry cells with the fuel they need, and it is crucial they get constant supply. More blood vessels and capillaries are shown here in this photo. This was created by injecting a plastic into the blood vessels and then using various proteases to dissolve the muscle cells away. You can see how dense the capillary structure is. Every cell in your body is supplied by a capillary, from the cells in your toe to the cells in the center of your brain, which are all connected in a large loop. This may be one reason why you should not pick the spots on your face. You can introduce bacteria into the blood, and the next organ on the loop is the brain, so you can introduce bacteria into the center of your brain. This is the structure of the heart. You should be familiar with the two atriums at the top of the heart and the two ventricles, which are lower down. You should remember that arteries take blood away from the heart, arteries away, and veins visit, the vena cava shown here. The blood only flows one way through the heart, and you should make your own notes on this and be very familiar with this structure. This is one of the atrioventricular valves shown on the previous diagram as the tricuspid. You can see how blood flow is prevented from returning to the atrium as the ventricle contracts. Students often say the valves mean that blood only flows the right way. This is wrong biologically, as long as the blood is going the same direction, there is no right way. The right answer is to say that it prevents backflow. This is the semilunar valve, which is located in the aorta and the pulmonary arteries. This time blood is prevented from flowing back into the ventricle. If a blood vessel becomes blocked, the mitochondria cannot respire and no contraction can take place. You will have seen the human side of this in Mark and Peter's stories. If enough cells stop functioning, this will be known as a heart attack. When the cells are cut from oxygen, they are said to be anoxic. So hopefully you should be able to answer these core questions. You should now go on and do some research on a few of these other questions and make some notes. So if any of these bullet points from what you should already know are confusing, you should make your own notes before the lesson as well. Otherwise than that, I'll see you in September. Take care.